Apologize, or don't come to the wedding. My mother didn't shout. She didn't need to. The quiet tone was worse. It meant she believed she had leverage. Across the dining table, my sister Aria swirled her champagne and smiled without looking at me. "She's nothing without our money anyway," she added casually. Like I wasn't sitting 3 feet away. Like I hadn't spent 9 years rebuilding the family company from near bankruptcy. I folded my napkin slowly. Not defensive, not angry, observing. 200 guests were already confirmed, the Ritz ballroom fully paid, floral installation imported from Italy, string quartet from New York, all funded, officially, by Vail Holdings, our family business. The business I structured, digitized, tax-protected, refinanced. But publicly, Aria was the visionary, my father was the founder, my mother was the strategic advisor, and me? I was the quiet daughter who handled paperwork. "You humiliated your sister." David's family was offended. Offended? Because I asked during dinner who would be signing the post-marriage equity agreement? A simple legal question, apparently inappropriate for a bride-to-be. "You'll apologize," my mother repeated, "or you won't attend." Aria finally looked at me. "You need us more than we need you." There it was, the assumption. I placed my wine glass down gently. "No," I said, and for the first time in my life, I didn't mean no to the wedding. I meant no to the structure. That night, I opened my laptop and filed one form that changed everything. I didn't cry when I got home. I didn't pace. I didn't rage text anyone. I changed into silk pajamas, poured myself still water, and opened my laptop. Vail Holdings was structured as an S corporation. Publicly, my father owned 51%. Aria held 19%. My mother held 10%. The remaining 20%? Listed under a passive trust. That trust was mine. They always assumed I'd never exercise voting authority, because I never had. I handled compliance, tax filings, vendor contracts, credit structuring. They handled appearances. But here's what they forgot. I was also the registered compliance officer, and without a compliance officer, certain vendor credit lines automatically paused. All it required was Form 8822B, change of responsible party. I filled it out calmly. Reason for change? Voluntary withdrawal from financial oversight and certification duties, effective immediately. Then I emailed our external accounting firm and removed my professional liability certification. No screaming, no threats, no freezing accounts. Just one structural correction. I clicked Submit. Confirmation pinged. Timestamp 11:48 p.m. Within 24 hours, lenders would receive notification. Within 48 hours, compliance reviews would initiate. The wedding was in 3 days, and without certified financial sign-off, payments above 6 figures don't clear. I closed the laptop. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was restructuring. By morning, the first vendor called my father, and his voice sounded different. It started with the florist. At 9:12 a.m., my father called me. Not to yell, to sound confused. "Did you update something in the filings?" he asked carefully. I buttered my toast. "I resigned from compliance," I said evenly. Silence. "You can't just do that," he replied. "I just did." Another pause. "We have scheduled disbursements this week." "I'm aware." His voice lowered. "Serafina, the Italian vendor flagged a review notice." Of course they did. International floral imports over 6 figures require certified oversight. Without my professional liability attached, they freeze until verification. "It's probably procedural," I said calmly. "You'll correct it," he pressed. "No." That word landed heavier this time. Across town, Aria was finalizing seating charts. 200 guests, custom monogrammed place cards, champagne tower, none of which could be installed without final wire release. At 11:03 a.m., the catering company called him next. Their deposit had cleared weeks ago. The final balance? Pending review. By 1:20 p.m., our primary bank sent an automated compliance inquiry regarding responsible party modification. My phone buzzed again. Aria, this time. "What did you do?" she demanded. "Nothing," I replied. "I stopped doing something." "You're being dramatic." "No, I said softly. "I'm being accurate." She laughed. "You wouldn't ruin my wedding over pride." I looked at the calendar. 3 days. Watch me, I thought. By the second day, the venue itself stopped answering my father's calls. By the second day, it wasn't subtle anymore. The Ritz didn't cancel. They requested clarification. That's corporate language for "we're not setting up until funds are guaranteed." At 10:47 a.m., my mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. No makeup, no composure, no strategy. "What have you done?" she demanded the moment I opened the door. "I resigned," I replied. "You crippled the company 3 days before your sister's wedding." "No," I corrected calmly. "I removed my certification. There's a difference." My father followed behind her, jaw tight. "The bank says large transfers require updated oversight approval. That was your department." "Not anymore." My mother stepped closer. "Fix it. Apologize. Reinstate yourself. We'll forget this happened." There it was. The deal. Return to silent labor and they'll allow me back into the family. "I don't work for free," I said quietly. Arya called then, speakerphone already on. "The florist is refusing delivery without payment confirmation," she snapped. "Do you realize what this looks like?" "Yes." My father's voice dropped lower. "You're humiliating us." I held his gaze. "No," I said evenly. "You assumed I was optional." Across the city, staff were already holding installation trucks outside the ballroom, and without clearance, they weren't unloading a single flower. On the morning of the wedding, 200 guests arrived, but the ballroom wasn't ready. The wedding was scheduled for 4 p.m. At 3:15, the ballroom was half-dressed. Tables were placed, chairs arranged, but no centerpieces, no floral arches, no champagne tower. The string quartet hadn't set up because their balance transfer hadn't cleared. Guests began arriving early, dressed in silk and confidence. They didn't see the tension behind the curtain, but I did. I arrived at 3:32. Not banned, not stopped. No one had actually removed my name from the guest list. Arya was in the bridal suite, pacing. When she saw me through the cracked door, her face went white. "You did this," she hissed. "I filed a resignation," I replied calmly. "You sabotaged my wedding." "No," I said. "That was a belief." At 4:07 p.m., the officiant still hadn't begun because the venue required final payment clearance before proceeding, and without my certification, that clearance didn't exist. At 4:19 p.m., the announcement came and the room went silent. At 4:19 p.m., the venue manager stepped onto the stage, not the officiant, not the bride, the manager. Polished smile, tight posture, corporate voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began gently, "we are experiencing a temporary financial verification delay." A delay. 200 guests shifted in their seats. Phones came out, whispers spread. Behind the curtain, Arya grabbed my shoulders. "Fix it," she whispered fiercely. "Right now." The quartet quietly packed their instruments. The champagne staff stood still beside an unfinished tower. My father was on his phone near the back wall, speaking in clipped, strained sentences. "Yes, we understand the compliance review. We just need a temporary authorization." Temporary. Without a certified compliance officer, banks don't issue temporary. They issue pause. At 4:24 p.m., the caterer approached my mother. Final balance required before service. No exceptions. The scent of lilies filled a room with no ceremony. Arya's fiancé, Dominic, stepped into the bridal suite. "What's happening?" he asked calmly. Arya avoided his eyes. My father answered instead. "Just procedural." Dominic looked at me, then at my father, then at the empty archway where imported florals should have stood. "Procedural?" he repeated quietly. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. At 4:31 p.m., the manager returned. "We regret to inform you that until financial obligations are cleared, we cannot proceed." Not postponed, not adjusted. Cannot proceed. Arya's face crumpled. 200 guests watched the wedding collapse in real time, and for the first time, they understood who actually held the structure together. But the real collapse didn't happen in the ballroom. It happened when Dominic asked one question no one was prepared to answer. The ballroom hadn't emptied yet. Guests were still seated, stunned, whispering behind manicured hands. Dominic didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He just looked at my father and asked quietly, "Who actually runs Vale Holdings?" Silence. My father opened his mouth, then closed it. Arya stepped forward. Dad does, obviously. Dominic's eyes shifted to me. And compliance? No one answered, because they all knew. I handled audits, vendor certifications, tax structuring, bank oversight, regulatory filings. Without my signature attached, their expansion loans were already under review. Dominic looked back at my father. So the company can't clear a wedding payment without her? My mother jumped in. It's a misunderstanding. He didn't break eye contact with my father. Is the company stable? That question landed heavier than the canceled ceremony. Stable. Not emotional, not pride, not family drama, financial stability. My father tried to regain posture. There's a temporary review. Dominic nodded slowly. How much debt is tied to compliance oversight? No one answered, because if I answered honestly in that room, it would be more than the wedding collapsing. It would be the illusion of control collapsing. Arya finally snapped. "Why are you interrogating us on my wedding day?" Dominic's voice stayed even. "Because I'm about to legally tie myself to this family." The room wasn't loud anymore. It was listening, and for the first time, the leverage had shifted publicly. 10 minutes later, Dominic made a decision that ended more than just the ceremony. Dominic didn't shout. He didn't storm out. He did something worse. He stepped away from Arya. Not dramatically, not angrily, deliberately. "I need transparency," he said calmly, "before marriage, before legal merger, before anything." Legal merger, that word hit harder than the venue cancellation. Because he wasn't thinking about vows, he was thinking about exposure. My father tried to salvage authority. "This is a family matter." Dominic shook his head. "No, it's a financial matter." He looked directly at me. "If she withdraws, does the company freeze?" I answered plainly. "Major transfers and credit renewals pause without compliance certification." Gasps moved through the front rows. Arya's hands were trembling now. "Stop explaining things," she hissed at me. "You're humiliating us." "No, I'm answering." Dominic turned back to my father. "How leveraged are you?" Silence again. Because I had built the restructuring plan last quarter. Because I knew the revolving credit exposure. Because without my signature, lenders required reevaluation. Dominic inhaled slowly. "I can't proceed like this." Arya grabbed his arm. "You're overreacting." "No," he said quietly, "I'm protecting myself." And that was the final shift. Not emotional betrayal, risk assessment. He stepped away from the altar platform entirely. "I'm postponing this," he said. Not maybe, not discussing, postponing. 200 guests watched the bride stand alone. And for the first time, she understood dependency isn't the same as power. But what happened Monday morning in the boardroom ensured the wedding wouldn't just be postponed, it would never happen. By Monday at 8 a.m., Vale Holdings had an emergency board meeting. No champagne, no florals, no illusions. Just numbers. Our primary lender had flagged a review due to material change in responsible oversight. That was me. Without certified compliance sign-off, our expansion loan renewal was paused, not revoked. Paused, which meant vulnerability. My father tried to frame it as temporary turbulence. "Serafina is being emotional," he said. "She'll reinstate." I didn't raise my voice. "I will not," I said evenly. "Not without restructuring." The board members shifted. "What restructuring?" one asked. "Formal recognition of equity authority, documented voting rights, written oversight control. No more silent labor." My mother scoffed. "You're leveraging the wedding." "No," I corrected. "I'm leveraging reality." Arya sat quiet this time, because the wedding disaster had already cost credibility. One board member cleared his throat. "If certification is required for credit stability, and she owns 20% through the trust." My father's jaw tightened. They were connecting it. I wasn't the paperwork girl. I was structural authority. The motion came fast. Temporary CEO suspension pending compliance reinstatement negotiation. My father stared at me. "You dismantle us?" I held his gaze. "I'm restructuring us." The vote passed. unanimous. And just like that, the company shifted under my control. By Friday, Arya wasn't planning a wedding anymore. She was selling her engagement ring. By Friday, the wedding wasn't postponed, it was cancelled. No reschedule, no intimate ceremony instead, no quiet recovery. Dominic's legal team requested full financial disclosure before reconsideration. Arya refused. He walked. The engagement ring appeared on a private resale listing 2 days later. Vale Holdings didn't collapse, it corrected. Under formal restructuring, my compliance authority was reinstated, this time with documented voting control. No more invisible labor, no more assumption of access, no more she needs us. My father stepped down, temporarily. That temporary status hasn't changed. My mother stopped calling. Arya hasn't spoken to me since the ballroom emptied. And here's the part no one admits out loud. The wedding didn't collapse because I was petty. It collapsed because it was built on a lie. The lie that I was optional. My name is Serafina Vale. I'm 34 years old, and for 9 years I kept a structure stable while being told I was nothing without it. They believed I needed their money. They forgot something simple. I was the certification behind it. If you've ever been treated like background labor while someone else took credit, remember this. Silence isn't weakness. It's leverage waiting for the right moment. Like the story, subscribe for more where control shifts quietly. And tell me, would you have filed the form?